As the sun steps down and escapes the day, we'll calmly walk away from the fray. When structure falls and all else fails, we will build it once again. But that's alright.
Oh my god!
Yo guys, what is up? Max here in our Borderlands 3 video, and today we are showcasing 5G FL4K and going over everything you guys need to know about this build. Now, I know I throw around the term best a lot, but genuinely, I think this is the best FL4K build I've ever made. Now, 5G FL4K was extremely strong before, but I've made some major tweaks to it to improve its damage by a ton, and it still maintains all of its crazy survivability. I showed the spec to a friend named Rotorus. If you guys know him, he's kind of like the FL4K master, and he said that it's the best damage FL4K spec that you can be running right now. So I'm super proud of this build, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. With that, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so showing on your screen right now is the updated skill tree for 5G FL4K. Now, there's a big change in the build here. We moved a lot of points over from blue tree to green tree, and I want to explain all of my reasoning for that. Now, the very first change came to our gear before I changed the skill tree, and that is because I moved over from a front loader, or from an old god to a front loader. Now, the front loader is going to give us 40% of our maximum health, and we're using a pearl now instead of a deathless. This change in of itself is a ton more damage. However, when you're at 40% of your max health, instead of going deathless, we were no longer benefiting from shared spirit. So because I couldn't get shared spirit, which was originally a big grab for this build because it was going to give us a lot of damage share, then basically the only reason I was in blue tree was for Barbaric Yop. Now, when you compare Barbaric Yop's damage bonus to something that you could get from all of the utility, all of the damage of the green tree, it was an obvious decision to move to green tree. Now, we are still using Gamma Burst, and I will explain why this setup works so well. But the new pickups to this build are, first off, we're getting 5 out of 5 into Furious Attack, ton of gun damage, and good handling. Overclocked, we're getting tons of fire rate, which is going to chain with second intention, which we're putting more points into, which is going to give us more reload speed. And after we reload, we're going to get more fire rate. And so this chains together where you're emptying your magazine faster and then you're reloading faster. And overall, this is a big DPS increase. We're also getting Lick the Wounds. When FL4K is in Fight for Your Life, the pet will attempt to revive them. If it does, it gains increased damage for a short time. Now, your pet is invincible while in Gamma Burst. So even if you do go into Fight for Your Life, if you have Gamma Burst up, it's a free get up. Like, you do not die while Gamma Burst is active because we have Lick the Wounds. But just to give you, like, an idea of how well this build survives, I've done the entire Guardian takedown on FL4K, and I only went down once. And my pet got me right back up, and it was a fault of my own. I was showing off. But this build has incredible survivability. Now, another thing that we're getting is Turn Tail and Run, which is going to give us health regen and damage reduction while we're moving, which is very nice because we're going to be moving a decent amount, and the health regen will allow us to, if we do lose any health, get our health back up. But the big pickup here is gun damage while still and fire rate while still. Now this, paired with Hidden Machine, is a ton of damage. The reason we are able to use this so well is because of our class mod. If you haven't seen this build perform or you haven't used this class mod before, I strongly recommend you give it a chance. The Red Fang class mod is so strong. While Gamma Burst is active, Flak's pets taunt all enemies. Now, this is a huge taunt that draws the aggro of all of the enemies around you to not shoot at you. Now, because the enemies aren't shooting at you and they're gathering around your pet, they're going to do like a kumbaya circle around your pet. You can stand there and get full damage from turn, tail, and run, and Hidden Machine will always be active, which is going to give you damage plus 30% when an enemy has no target, which is all the time. So we're getting 55% increased damage just from these two skills, and we're going to be able to keep Gamma Burst up all the time because we're using the Reflux as our main weapon, and the Reflux with head count allows us to upkeep Gamma Burst a ton. Now, the big downside to Gamma Burst builds is that if you have your Gamma Burst duration up for a long time, which we were doing before because we were using Endurance, your ASCs will wear off. So these ASCs, they only last for 10 seconds, and you can't proc them as much as you would in a fadeaway build or a rack attack build. However, we're countering that by using the while under 50% health, deal 150% bonus radiation damage. So we're always getting 150 bonus radiation damage. So that's awesome. But because we're no longer using Endurance, our Gamma Burst is only going to be lasting 20 seconds always, and so we're pretty much always going to have our ASCs. There'll be a little bit of downtime, but your ASCs are going to be up a lot more often, and with all of these changes, you're going to be doing way more DPS. Now, that is the biggest change with this build. Its damage has changed drastically, so much more damage. Now, we are sacrificing a tiny bit of survivability, but not really. Especially with Lick the Wounds. If you do ever make a mistake, you get back up. And that is why I love this build so much. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I struggle playing on Flak a lot of times, and I get frustrated playing on Flak because I find him to go down into fight for your life the most. Out of any of the characters I play, he really struggles, and this is why I love this build, and it is my favorite build to play on Flak. It is because it's so easy. It's very casual. You can put down your Gamma Burst, you can kill everything, nothing shoots at you, and it feels great. You're not losing any damage for your survivability. In fact, you're getting a ton. We're running around with the 150 Rad Annoyant, and your pet's actually doing things now. With all of the damage buffs, we're using the Scorcher, which is the highest damage pet that we can have, and all in all, this build feels and plays awesome. Now, our red tree isn't anything too crazy. Pretty standard red tree. Nothing too much to explain here. Most dangerous game, gun damage, crit damage, big game. We're boosting all of our hunt skills. Now, one thing I do need to point out is I do not have a point into Heat Bites. My class mod puts a point. So if you do not have a class mod putting a point into Heat Bites, you absolutely need to put a point into Heat Bites and take one from Second Intention. If you do have a class mod with a point in here, you're good. But you need Heat Bites because it's going to give the damage reflect on your pet to stack up frenzy stacks really easily. And frenzy stacks are super important because they add a ton of gun damage. Now, for gear and equipment, we're using the Reflux as our main weapon. Now, there's two reflexes. There's Cash Infused and Redundant. The Redundant is more damage, straight up, but you are going to be reloading more often with it, and you run the risk of running out of ammo. With with Leave No Trace, with a ×7, you're basically running on infinite ammo, but your DPS is slightly lower. With a ×14, you're going to have more damage, but you're going to be reloading, so that is up to you. In that, I like using both. The Complex Root is another awesome addition to this build. The Complex Root hits so hard, and when you have all the enemies grouped up on your pet, you can shoot the Complex Root into the group and kill all of them. This is also an amazing weapon for Wotan, amazing weapon for the Guardian Takedown. Now, honestly, this build works with like anything. I just have showing off a Chaosin. The Gargoyle with all of its splash damage into the group is awesome. The License is cool. The Dakota is awesome. The Robin's Call is cool. Flipper. The Monarch is still like one of the best weapons in the game and works extremely well with this build. You can go into bipod mode with the Monarch and just mow down an entire group while they're not even shooting at you. And if you don't want to use the Monarch and you want to use the Mini Monarch, the Light Show also works extremely well. Now, grenade you could use pretty much any grenade you want. I just had a green one because I didn't have one with corrosive damage on me. But I do like the Mitosis Hunter Seekers because they can stack up Pearl for you very quickly. So those are the grenades that I use the most. But the best grenade in slot is the It's Piss. The It's Piss, you can just throw it into a group of enemies and it'll hit all of them because they'll all be grouped up. And then you get another 20% increased damage on them. So It's Piss, definitely best in slot for your grenade. And one thing I do need to explain is fake bursting. So a lot of times you'll see me look up into the sky and you'll see my action skill do that. You should always do that before you go into Gamma Burst. That'll proc your ASCs, and then you can proc your ASCs and then go into Gamma Burst. And then you will have all of your damage ready to go, and your 150 rad will always be active. Lastly, guys, let's talk about our modifiers. Now, I personally like using Speed Demon. I use it on pretty much every character now. I just don't like being slow. It's not incredibly advantageous to this build, but it is awesome. Helps us dodge things, and overall quality of life is very nice. Now, I've been using Drone Ranger and Holy Crit. Freeze Tag, I honestly wouldn't recommend because Freeze Tag ignores your Red Fang, so it'll still target you, so don't use Freeze Tag. But Holy Crit and Speed Demon are awesome. Drone Ranger, it doesn't really matter, just gives us more things to kill, and with Reflex, we're going to be killing everything. And yeah, guys, that is it for the build. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. It is extremely strong, works for any situation. If you guys do want to do bossing with this build, the only thing that you need to change, the reason why I rated it a 4 out of 5 is because you do need to change your class mod if you want to have the most bossing damage. But I changed to a stack bot because we're full green tree. We have all of the fadeaway augments. So you can go Unblinking Eye and Gorillas in the Mist on your fadeaway, and you pull out literally any weapon, especially fast firing ones like the Light Show, like the Monarch, and you will melt any boss in the game easily. And that is why I gave it a 4, because you do need to change the class mod. But if you do have a stack bot, you already have all these points into green tree. You can change it in a flash, and now you are one of the best bossing setups in the game. So super awesome. I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.